Breaking news here on Minnesota Vikings Now as Patrick Peterson is coming back to Minnesota. We'll break down everything you need to know about that move and what it means for the NFL draft. But this is exactly why you guys should subscribe. When news happens on the Vikings, we break it down for you guys, especially when it's a big-time player like Patrick Peterson. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe right now. Patrick Peterson is back with the Minnesota Vikings as Peterson announced himself on his podcast with former NFL corner Bryant McFadden that he is staying with the Minnesota Vikings. Although we do not know at this point the exact contract details, it is a one-year deal for Patrick Peterson, who also says he wants to play at least 2-3 more years somewhere in that area. By the way, it was on the All Things Covered podcast. Forgot to mention the exact name on that. Sorry, fellas. But Peterson returning to Minnesota for at least the short term, a move that was somewhat expected, but also a good one by the organization, as Peterson will at least provide a good veteran mentor presence for what is starting to be an overhauled cornerback room and defense, if we're being honest, for the Vikings. Peterson is not the same player he was at his prime, but the I'm pretty sure it's 8-time Pro Bowler is still a darn good football player and will be a welcome retention for the organization. Peterson also says he's feeling leaner than ever, by the way. In the end, keeping Peterson is a good move. It's a smart decision by the organization to keep Peterson on the roster for what I assume is going to be a not that expensive contract. I would wager this is probably going to check in $5, $6, maybe $7 million per year on 1 year. Peterson's not going to be the break-the-bank corner he was at his absolute peak, but he likes being in Minnesota. He likes the team, clearly likes the fan base as well, and is sticking around for at least the time being. So we'll spend some more time on this, of course. We got a good couple minutes left on today's video. Give me one-word reaction, your one-word reaction, to Patrick Peterson staying in Minnesota. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So the ad break comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know what your one-word reaction to Peterson staying is. My one word? Smart. It's a smart move by the Vikings and for Peterson. I mean, he was having a bunch of one-year offers, and I don't know about you guys, moving sucks. I hate moving. It's a pain in the butt. I don't ever want to do it. So if it's a good destination and it's a good team, money's the same, I'm not going to deal with the hassle moving, even though he's making a hell of a lot more than I certainly ever will. But for Minnesota, you're keeping your best corner on your roster. Now, we'll get to the need side of it here in a minute, but Peterson himself is still really good at football. These numbers are awesome, even though Peterson, of course, did miss time this past season. 477 yards allowed, sub 60% completion rate, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, 5 pass breakups. Of course, opposing defense's plan was, well, we'll throw it away from Patrick Peterson because the guys they had, Rashad Breeland was such a bum for Minnesota. As things sit right now, the Vikings, if they needed to, could roll with these guys at the cornerback spot of Patrick Peterson, Cameron Dantzler, Chandon Sullivan as your outside guys, with Sullivan, of course, locked in as the nickel. The depth now feels better with options like Harrison Hand, Nate Hairston, Chris Boyd, Ty Smith, Perry Nickerson. Not all 7 of these guys will make the roster. Frankly, might only be 3 or 4 depending on what they do in the draft, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But Peterson, and hopefully better play and more consistent playing time for Cameron Dantzler, will benefit the Vikings secondary this upcoming season. Now, if you are excited for Patrick Peterson to return, then like the video right now. I would assume everyone's excited about keeping one of the better veteran corners in the NFL, but prove it to me. Show that you are excited about Patrick Peterson returning to Minnesota for the 2022 season and maybe beyond. It's a one-year deal, but they'll see how things go and then evaluate again next offseason. The Vikings' biggest needs, even after the signing of Patrick Peterson, to be blunt, have not changed for me. It's quarterback 5, and you're looking kind of long-term there. Offensive guard, long-term. Tight end, long-term. Safety, long-term. Corner is still your number one need. Now, my mindset and what I think the Vikings' plan of attack is going to be as they kind of start to, I'll call it a competitive rebuild. They're going to start shuffling out pieces to fit what they want to do on offense and defense with a totally new regime in, but they've got veteran players in QB. They'll try to win right now. They are setting themselves up to potentially take just the pure best player on the board. Now, you know, they're not going to take a tackle in round one with Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw. I doubt they take edge. I still think corner makes the most sense for them. I'm looking at Derek Stingley. He is a perfect fit with this defense. He's a perfect fit with an LSU guy in Patrick Peterson. Now, Patrick Peterson, I think the team's going to draft a corner. Yeah, they should. I would be surprised if they did not. Having Peterson, Dantzler, Stingley this upcoming year is perfect. I think Derek Stingley, or Peterson mentioned Derek Stingley. Patrick Peterson, per my producer Jack, says he'd be a great fit. Derek Stingley would be. He's right. Pat Pete ain't stupid. You have Patrick Peterson mentor Derek Stingley for a year. I think that is the perfect outcome. I think Stingley needs that type of big brother to help guide him, and he's not quite the alpha that maybe a Sauce Gardner is. Take Stingley in round one. He can, of course, play and help you, make no mistake about that. Worst case is you're rotating Dantzler, Stingley, Peterson, whatever capacity you need to. I think Stingley should still be this team's round one pick, assuming, of course, he's on the board. In the end, Minnesota's going to go a lot of BPA this year, which is a good thing, by the way. So what do you think is the biggest need left here for the Minnesota Vikings? Hit that big red button, or let me know, in the comments section what the biggest need is. And while you're down there, I was looking at the wrong part of the screen here. Also hit that big red button. Let's get to 4K subscribers. We're getting closer and closer. This is actually your second video of the day. We broke down some trade ideas, one of which involved a corner. You can cross off James Bradbury. That race done been run with Patrick Peterson coming back. But we talked about trade down candidates. We talked about the offensive guard battle. There's still a lot of good information in there. So check out that video and all the free videos we offer you here at Minnesota Vikings Now at youtube.com/Vikings Today. So Patrick Peterson is sticking around with the organization. It's a one-year deal for Patrick Peterson. He will stay for at least one more year. As he begins to age and decline, he's clearly willing, I think, to be that veteran mentor role. That carries plenty of value for NFL teams. I also wonder if maybe down the road, Peterson looks to move to safety. That could be in the cards at some point. Could be in the cards for Minnesota. But for now, he's back as this team's number one corner for 2022.